the first thing we do each morning, walking into the kitchen to make your coffee. But when all I see is dirty plates and mugs from last night, rubbish we left out on the counters, and overflowing cupboards that I'll tackle one day, it's just not the best way to start my day. So as a busy mom of two, I decided enough was enough. A few years ago, I decluttered about 50% of the things in our home, and it's changed everything. If you need more breathing room and you want your kitchen to be functional, easy to keep clean, then decluttering is it. So here are 20 things your kitchen doesn't need and how you can create space today by getting rid of the unnecessary in these categories. Appliances you don't use. When I first started my decluttering journey, I soon realized that I had in my kitchen certain appliances or gadgets that I had because they were there, but I very rarely used them. And for some of them, I just didn't use them because they just weren't part of my, cooking routine. Or some of them I avoided using because they were just hard to clean. Like I used to have this sandwich maker that I loved using sometimes, but I would avoid using it because it was kind of hard to clean. And so it was just sitting in my cupboards without ever being used. Those are the kind of items that I look at now and get rid of because I just find there's no point in keeping them. And if I do want a toasted sandwich, I realize I can just easily make it in a pan and it's much easier to clean. And so that's what I had been doing, even though I had a sandwich maker in my cupboards as well. It also comes down to your capacity at the moment. Right now, since I'm in this busy season of life with two small children, I just want to keep things minimal and functional because otherwise things pile on and I just get more overwhelmed. And when you're a parent, you already have so much on your plate. So it doesn't sound like much, but getting rid of those items that, require extra cleaning or extra maintenance or just more of your time and energy, that can actually make such a big difference in your kitchen and in your home overall. Extra spatulas. Now, those spatulas that you see behind me, those wooden ones, are the ones that I keep. And then I have a few other stainless steel ones that I like to use as well. When I started decluttering, I just kind of had a look, just making a mental note of the spatulas and kind of utensils that I do use in my cooking and the ones that I didn't use, but they just maybe came in a set or maybe you got gifted, but you don't actually use. And so getting rid of those can clear up so much space in your drawers or on your kitchen counters as well. One thing I also got rid of was a bulky countertop bread bin. Nothing wrong with having one, obviously, but for me, since we have limited counter space, I just wanted to maximize that space and leave it for, having space to actually cook and prepare food and things like that. Now we keep our bread in a little storage bin in one of the cupboards. So that's one thing you can consider getting rid of if you find that it's not useful for you as well. I also no longer keep lots of decor on my counters. I used to have a framed picture and lots of little things here and there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with decorating your kitchen a little bit and making it, as cozy as you would like to. But for me, I know that I need to keep it functional as well. Like if it's 5 a.m. and I spill some milk on the counters, I want that cleanup to take 2 minutes. I don't want it to be a whole thing where now I have to remove all of these items of decor and clean them and give them a wipe. And so if I do decorate my kitchen, I try to put maybe things on the wall like frames and not necessarily things that are on my countertops. Another thing I removed from our kitchen counters is one of those bulky knife blocks, because when you do have limited counter space, again, every single item that you have on there actually matters, even though it might not seem like much. So we actually just have 3 cooking knives that I keep in a drawer with the rest of our utensils, and that's it. We don't really need any knife block on the counter. Now, depending on how much of a chef you are, you might need more or less, but for me, I know I just prepare simple meals for our family, so I don't do any extensive cooking or baking. Loose lids and pieces, and I know that these can be so easy to accumulate, and we keep them because I think, well, maybe one day I'll find exactly what this little piece goes to. But the truth is, if I'm not really using it right now, if I don't have a purpose for it and I don't even know what it goes for, it's very likely that I'm not gonna miss getting rid of it. And if I have items like this, sometimes I have put them in a decide later pile. So just keep maybe a box or a storage bin where I keep some of these items. They seem functional and I know I might use them in the future, so you can keep them and see 2 months from now or 3 months from now, do I miss them? Do I go reaching back for them? And if not, then that's obviously an item that can go. And going along with this, any food storage and containers that we don't truly use. I think, you know, we can get in this trap of having so much Tupperware. For us, we have replaced our plastic containers, or most of them, with glass containers, and we have a few of them, maybe like 7 or 8 glass containers in there. They are all stored in one cupboard up there with lids on, and so when I go to get a food storage container, I can just grab one. It's got the lid on. There's not going to be missing lids and, you know, pieces all over the place, and I just find that an easier way to store your food storage containers. And they're great for leftovers and, you know, maybe meal prepping, but I just think sometimes we keep way more than we actually need or use. Something I don't want to have in my kitchen is some of those specific fruit holders. I realized on places like Amazon you can find things like banana holder and avocado holder and like a specific container, plastic container for lots of different types of fruit and veg, and I just feel like it's a bit unnecessary. We can just use a simple container like food storage container that we have, or something like that, to store our fruit and veg if needed. But it's all of those random little knickknacks and gadgets and, you know, kitchen things that seem like a good idea, like they're gonna bring so much convenience to your life, but actually when we have too many of those, it turns out to do quite the opposite. Like, it just overwhelms us, and that's how we get overflowing drawers and cupboards with lots of things that we don't actually use on a regular basis. It's also a good idea to look at any pots and pans that you might not be using. This is what I have done, and I realized that if I have a set of like maybe 3 pots and then 2 pans, that's pretty much everything that I need. And then I have a few oven trays as well, but usually you only have 4 spots on your hob. So for us, just limiting those and keeping what we're actually using on a regular basis made so much more sense. Empty glass jars is something that can easily accumulate because, for one, sometimes they're cute. You know, you get jams or spreads or things that come in this cute little glass jar, and once they're empty, we clean them out and we think, oh, this would be a good one to use for certain things. And yes, they can be useful. Like, they can be good food containers if you want to keep things like sugar, flour, or whatever it might be, or they might be nice for crafts, but there's only so many we need to keep for those purposes. So for me, the rule is, if I don't have a need for this glass container right now, then I can simply get rid of it. And the thing about those is that you probably will buy more jams next week anyway, or, you know, in the future. And so if you do find that you need a glass container in the future, it's so easy to replace that, and it doesn't have to be this high stakes decision of getting rid of those glass jars. So I think that can be a quick win for you. Lots of mugs is something we can so easily accumulate as well. I used to have so many mugs. My mug cupboard was always overflowing with tons of different mugs that I got from random places. Some of them I didn't even like or use, but I just had them there. And the truth is, there's only so many mugs we use on a daily basis. For us, we have about maybe 10 mugs or 12 mugs, and we're a family of 4, and I think that's plenty. We probably don't even need that many, but when we have a cupboard full of 30, 40, 50 mugs, that's for the most part unnecessary, and they probably don't get used, and so getting rid of those can actually create so much space in your cupboards. And while we're in the same cupboard, I also like to look at any travel water bottles that we have, because those can also accumulate. So in our family, the kind of rule we have is that everyone has 1 bottle, like 1 bottle per person. I don't find that we ever need more than that, and it's so much easier to keep track of them and not have water bottles all over the house, like upstairs in the bedrooms and in backpacks, and just have random bottles everywhere. If we just have 1 per person, it's easier to keep track of. It's easier to just clean it every night, have it ready for the morning. That alone can clear up so much space in your cupboards as well. It's also a good idea to look at any extra plates that maybe you're not using. Sometimes we get a gifted set, or we buy a new set but we never get rid of the old one, and we usually tend to have 1 set that we use on a regular basis, and then all the other ones that we have are probably not really getting used. So those can be good to get rid of and clear up some more space in your kitchen. Also, any spices you don't use, I regularly go through our spice jars and make sure that, you know, things are still good in there, and also that those are spices we actually use. In the past, I have bought, you know, maybe a spice I don't particularly use, but I bought it for one specific recipe, and maybe I found that maybe I didn't like the spice, or maybe I just don't use it in my regular cooking. And so after a while, really there's no point in keeping that spice, especially because they can expire as well. So that can be a good thing to go through. Just have a look at your spices, see what you're actually using in there, get rid of what's, you know, not used, and also what's maybe expired. And similarly, I like to go through any overflow of, you know, tins and sauces and packets of things, condiments. So I'll go through my cupboards. We generally don't tend to buy a lot of overflow, you know, just kind of having the things that we actually eat. And this is something that maybe you don't necessarily have to get rid of as long as they're still good to eat. Obviously, if there's anything expired, just get rid of it. But any, you know, pastas and rice and all of those things, if they're still good, maybe just make a mental note. Or I like to sometimes make a list in the notes app on my phone, and I'll just put in there the things that we need to eat up. Like if we have too much pasta, too many sauces of one particular kind, and when I'm meal planning for the next week, I can make sure I include that in our recipes so we can actually use the food that we bought instead of wasting it and buying more. Also, access cleaning products. I do regularly go under my sink and have a look through the products I have in there. I don't tend to keep a lot, but they can accumulate sometimes if you buy something for a specific purpose and then you realize maybe you didn't like the cleaning product, or maybe you just have way too many that you're not really using. Those can be good to get rid of or just kind of keep track of so you don't buy more of the same kind and use up what you have. I used to think we need to have so many cleaning products for a clean house, but actually having less and maybe multi-purpose products that you can use on a variety of surfaces in your home, that can make it so much easier to clean your house, and it keeps your under sink area clutter-free. Excess kitchen towels or cloths. Sometimes we buy new ones with the best intentions, but we never get rid of the old again. And you know, if a kitchen towel has gotten so worn that you avoid using it, then maybe it's a good idea to take it to textile recycling and just get rid of it, because there's no point in keeping a whole stash of them that we're not really using. A rug in the kitchen is something I don't have anymore. We used to have one when we first bought our flat, when we first got married, and then we had kids and I realized having a rug under your dining table or in the kitchen when you have small children is just not very practical. At least for us, I just found, you know, there's so much spillage. It always gets dirty, and we find that having no rug is so much easier to clean. I can sweep and mop anything that got spilled, and it's just way easier than having a rug under your eating area. In the future, I might feel differently once my kids are older. I don't know if maybe when they become teenagers. You can let me know if you have teenagers. Do they spill less? I'm hoping they will. But yeah. For now, we don't have a rug in the kitchen because it's just not practical in this stage of life. Another thing to get rid of in your kitchen is paperwork. I don't really like having paperwork in the kitchen, and I think it can so easily take over your counters if you let it. So now we have this little letter holder in our entryway. So where we have our shoe unit, that's where I keep, just kind of very close to the front door, is where I keep all of those papers, like incoming papers, letters, anything like that. So they don't come into the kitchen. They just sit there for whenever I'm ready to tackle them. But if you do have a lot of paperwork on the kitchen counters, this is a good time to just go through them. And the first kind of go through, you can have a quick win of just getting rid of what's truly unnecessary, like junk mail, things that have like expired, you know, old GP letters or things you don't really need anymore. Just quickly maybe shred those or rip them apart and get rid of them. And then on the next pass through, you can pick the things you actually need to do something about and put them in maybe a letter holder. And then the ones that you don't really need right now, but maybe you want to keep for the future, paperwork that might be important, then you can just file that away in a folder. But I found that there's no point in keeping paperwork on my kitchen counters, and that's where spillages happen, so it's not very practical either. And one thing I also don't like having in my kitchen is cables lying around everywhere. So we used to kind of charge our phones in the kitchen or on the dining table, but since then we've actually created this little charging station. So it's just a little drawer or a little cupboard where you can put all of your charges. We've organized it quite neatly, and so whenever we want to charge a laptop, a phone, an iPad, or whatever it might be, all of those items can go in the charging station so that we don't have cables lying around on all surfaces. I actually have a full checklist that goes room by room with lots more things that you can declutter. So if you want some more inspiration, that will be linked in the description box. It's just a free decluttering checklist that I offer to anyone who needs it. Let me know how you're getting on with your declutter, and I will see you in the next one.